I'm going to be giving an explanation of the remainder of fall 2018 for Linguistics 100A. So weeks 10 through 16 that's coming up. So what's left is actually a good amount, but we've been preparing. We've done work like this before. So some of this will look, some of these processes, some of these steps will look familiar. So for Unit 2, we still have 2 drafts of to do. And I'm going to distribute a calendar document that has these drafts on there, and those are going to be signified by P. So when you want to know when a paper is due, just look for P in the calendar, the letter P. For Unit 3, we've actually got quite a bit, and it'll be good for us to go through it at a nice pace. We've got, for Unit 3, we've got reading 4 articles, and we have to analyze them with reading packets. We have 4 more grammar lessons, and then we have to write 3 drafts of paper 3. And don't forget also, the final exam is on December 15th. So this is going to be a little bit what the calendar looks like. I'm showing an image of the calendar right now, and that you can find in the document is called Schedule for Weeks 10 through 16. So there are lots of things throughout the remainder of the calendar, and while there are some points where there's a lot of assignments due on one day, right now what I'm doing is I'm giving you a lot of that information now so that you can plan. And so I recommend being proactive, working beforehand, because if you do some of these things the night before, you will be overwhelmed. So I'm spacing out some of these things so that there is hopefully enough time to get all of them done, and you can plan accordingly. So let's go in. I can understand that the document that you're looking at, or the document that you're opening up and reading through, might be kind of a lot to absorb, and it might be unclear what each part is. So let's go. I'm going to go through it in this PowerPoint so that you have a little more information. So the first thing to think about that's going to form the basis for Unit 3 is going to be the reading. So in this presentation, this video, I'm going to be talking about the reading and how we're going to analyze it. Then I'm going to talk about the grammar, and then I'm going to talk about paper drafts, because all 3 of the things, the reading, the coming to class and discussing the reading, the packets, as well as the grammar, those things all contribute to helping you write the paper. So even though we're doing draft 2 papers, before we start doing the reading packets and things like that for Unit 3, I'm going to talk about them in this way so that first you get an overview and an introduction to the reading. So my goal with Unit 3 is it's going to be a little bit more independent, fewer grammar lessons, a little bit more self-study. The reading packets that I'm giving out are going to be you'll notice some repetition within the reading packets. And the goal is that you're going to be developing skills that will help with the essays in this class. It will help you with the final exam for this class, and even beyond this class, you'll have benefits. So that means that you will have these skills that help you in later classes. So in your further linguistics classes, the writing classes, it'll definitely come up. And then even beyond that, in your content classes, whatever your major classes are, there should be skills that you're developing that you can apply to that. And then also the WPA, the big writing placement assessment that comes up later in your college career. This is the reading packets go over the questions that are going to go over the types of questions and types of materials, the audience, the arguments, those types of things that are going to be essential for your success on the WPA. So If you're looking or reading through the calendar, you can see that one of the first thing that pops up is C. So that is going to be the class, what we'll be doing in class. So if you see the letter C and then an author name, that means we're going to be discussing that author in class. So what that means is that you should come having read the article, understanding it. You can start the packet and definitely bring the packet to class. The packet will be distributed in class. Sometimes there will be instances where I'll ask for part of the packet to be handed in or to be finished before class, so that way there are discussions that we can have and there's ways that students are prepared for the conversation. So when you're looking at the first couple weeks, we've got Hook, then Matlin, then Wagner, then Olvera. So what that means is you have these dates when you need to be reading the articles by. So these are the dates when we'll be discussing them in class, but that still means that you can read about them beforehand and then just remember them, like kind of refresh your memory before you come to class. R stands for reading packet. So that means if you're looking at R on the calendar, or you're reading through the calendar and finding R, you can find that the first reading packet, R, is due on November 8th. And then a reading packet is due in class each time after that. So that means you have some time to look through, figure out, and read the reading packet after we've discussed it in class. So there will be some opportunities to work on these in class. There'll be some, hopefully I'll be able to make some videos that can kind of guide you through part of the process so that you can complete these reading packets. Because again, a big part of the reading packets is going to be helping you with the paper number 3 and also going to be helping you with the final exam that's on December 15th. So again, do these reading packets so you have these to help you immediately in this class right now, as well as after this class, those skills that you'll take throughout your writing career at San Diego State and hopefully even beyond. So there are staggered due dates, and my goal with this is that I just don't want people to get behind. But you can still turn these in early. If you finish them all really fast, turn them in so you can get credit. And the goal is also with these due dates, you're done with them by the time you have to read paper 3. The goal is that you can get feedback before the final. However, there might be an instance like if you turn in your paper and you need it back, you just want it checked and then you get the credit and everything, and you need to take it with you so that you can get the feedback, so you can use those ideas in the reading packet for your writing. Then that might be a case when we can't get feedback to you. Furthermore, if you're taking pictures or scans or something like that and uploading them online, we can't give feedback to those. We can't give feedback to Pages documents. We can only give feedback when it's going to be a Word document. So keep that in mind. If you want that feedback, make sure you're uploading Word documents. And the schedule is outlined here, and also on the Word document schedule. And I think I even mentioned where the first packet's due on the 8th and then one packet per class after that. So there's that schedule. So we understand what's happening in class, we understand the reading we're doing, we understand the reading packets we're doing to help us analyze the reading that's going to help us with the paper writing process and studying for the final. And then also another thing that's going to support us, another important part of the class, is grammar. So grammar homework is signified on the calendar by G. So whenever there's a G for a specific date on the calendar, that's when you have to turn in the grammar homework. And this is going to be a little bit more like independent study. My goal is to be able to get some videos loaded up so that you can learn from these so you can learn a little bit extra about these topics, but you can read through the chapters, you can look at the examples, and then do these exercises. I've set out one exercise per chapter. I think one of the chapters, there's 2 exercises. For each exercise, you are going to have to do a little bit extra work, so make sure you're looking at those extra directions and doing that, so that way you can learn a little bit more about the lessons from these. And one of the reasons I'm giving this is because you are responsible for this grammar in essay number 3, paper number 3. So this gives you some practice, gives you some experience with the rules, so that if I do end up correcting you for one of these grammar lessons, what you can do is you're a little bit familiar with it. You can go back into that chapter that you've studied, and you can look at those rules, look at those reasons, and better understand it, so that next time you're faced with this kind of grammar, you're able to use it correctly. All right, so that's grammar. So we've got all of these things that are really helpful and really supporting us and leading ultimately to papers. So the papers are going, each paper is a multi-draft paper. So on the calendar, the Word document calendar that says schedule for weeks 10 through 16, most of the papers are written out like in 2-2 or 2-1. 3-2. What that means is that when you have the first number is going to be the paper number, and then the second number is going to be the draft number. So a draft is a version of something such as a document or assignment that you make before you make the final version. So with this writing, what you're doing, the first draft, you're still going to try and write it as completely as possible. You are then going to turn it in, get feedback either from myself or from a classmate, and then look at that feedback, use it to improve your paper, and then turn in a second draft or third draft. Remember, this is not going to be a brand new paper. You're not writing, so for example, with paper 2, there's 2 drafts. You're not writing 2 different papers. You're writing one paper and you're improving it each time. The goal is that you can see how your paper changes from the first draft to the final draft. And you can learn some of those rules, you can learn some of those steps, so that you can apply that to your own writing in this class as well as in future classes. So with Unit 2, you have 2 drafts to make one paper. The first draft, you turn in a paper that follows the directions, has all of the parts and follows the checklist that I've given out as much as possible, follows the prompt, follows the rubric, and then after one week after you turn it in, you'll receive feedback from the teacher. Next, you have 1 week to improve that paper for your second draft. So remember, the second draft for paper 2 is not a new paper. You're just taking the paper that you turned in for draft 1, paper 2, and what you're doing is you're making it better. So you're using the teacher's feedback as well as writing your own writing skills that you've picked up to improve what you've written. So keep in mind that just because you make all the corrections that the teacher has given you does not mean that you will now get an A. That just means that your grade will probably improve, but you're still responsible for finding the other errors. Especially sometimes the feedback will be general and not targeted at special parts. So you'll have to use your own skills, your own abilities to figure out what is lacking in your most recent draft so that you can make it better. Unfortunately, there's not time with a teacher who has 20 to 25 students in a class and sometimes multiple classes to give incredibly thorough feedback that will help you, that will boost your paper to A quality. Sometimes, but sometimes not. So for paper Unit 2, there are going to be 2 drafts, and again, it's the same paper. So the first draft is due November 6th. Originally, the paper was going to be due November 1st, but we're pushing it back. It's going to be due November 6th. And what you'll do you'll turn in that Tuesday by midnight, 11:59, whatever helps you think about it best, so that over the course of 1 week, your teacher, I'm going to give you feedback. I'm going to let you know how to make it better. And then you'll get it back on November 13th. And then you will have 1 week to take that feedback, take that same paper and improve it and turn it in on November 20th. So that's right before the Thanksgiving break. So you can do that and turn it in and have that done. You can check Blackboard for lots more resources. There's going to be sample papers. There's going to be the, rubric, all of those things that are really going to help you. So remember, the topic for this paper is grade inflation, and the writing style is explanatory synthesis. So again, bringing those ideas together from the different authors to talk about different things. So that was paper 2. Let's go on to paper 3. Paper 3 is going to be 3 drafts that is going to be ultimately 1 paper. So the first draft that you turn in, unless there's something terribly wrong with it, you're not following the directions, it's going to be the same paper that you're working on and improving. You're making changes to it. You're doing this multi-draft process to get experience with this process so that you can work on how to improve your paper and make those changes in subsequent classes when you have writing assignments you're faced with. So the first draft, you turn in a paper that follows the directions, the rubrics, all of those things, and you receive feedback from a classmate. So that's going to be peer review, and the goal with that is so that you can learn from your classmate how you can improve your paper, and also so you can have an experience with editing and giving feedback. So it really is kind of beneficial both ways, where you are going to be able to build proofreading skills that you can use on your own papers, and also you're giving your classmate feedback. So we'll be doing that in class. And then that means you take that feedback from your classmate, try and incorporate it as much as you can, as well as using your own writing skills and what you know about good writing, and improving your paper to submit your second draft. Again, this is not a new paper. This is just taking the first paper that you turned in to your classmate, and you're going to be improving it. And then the second draft is going to be the draft that I critique, that I give feedback for. So you're going to get that second paper back, and then you'll have, I think, about a week and a half. We'll look at the calendar in a little bit. You'll have some time to make that paper better, and that draft better, and ultimately turn in your third and final draft. So you're using, again, the feedback from both your classmate. Hopefully you've incorporated as much of the feedback as you can from your classmate into your second draft, but if there's some things you forgot, incorporate those. Incorporate my feedback for draft 3 of yours for this third paper. Incorporate that as much as possible. Look for other areas that might be weak and turn that in so you have your third draft. So that's the process for draft 3. For paper 3 for the 3 drafts. And this is the schedule. So first draft is going to be due November 27th. So that's right after Thanksgiving holiday. And it's due that day because that's going to be the day that we do peer review in class. And then the second draft, actually, I'm going to change that so that right now it says November 29th, but I'm changing it so that it's November 30th. So you get a couple of days to try and incorporate the feedback from your classmate. If you can't incorporate it all, just incorporate what you can and submit it. I need to have it in by that date because the following weekend I'm unavailable to give feedback. So this is going to be November 30th. That is when you turn it in, and then you're going to get feedback the following week on December 7th, and then you'll have 11 days from that point to work on and give feedback for your final draft of paper 3 due on December 18th. You can check Blackboard. There will be resources. I'm going to try and give the resources sooner rather than later, but that you will have those resources before and during the paper writing process. The topic for this paper is going to be euthanasia, so death with dignity. That's going to be the topic. And then the writing style is multiple sources position paper. The style is very similar to the synthesis paper that you do in paper 2, but one thing that's different is you're taking a position and you're going to be talking about your opinion on euthanasia, whether it should be legal or not, and then you're going to you're going to synthesize ideas from the multiple articles, all 4 of those articles that we're going through in this unit. You're going to be bringing those together, and you're going to be understanding them in a way that backs up your opinion. You're going to explore as well as exploring the idea that you believe in and is in line with your opinion. You are going to also address the alternative opinion to show why you find your opinion to be stronger, so that you can have a rebuttal of the opposite opinion. Address that because it does make your argument stronger. So that is going to be the rest of the semester. And I want to remind you also that for every draft of a paper you turn in, just do your best. Try and write as complete of a paper as possible. This isn't, sometimes when you think of a first draft, it can be very low quality. However, if it is very low quality, your grade will reflect that. So remember that. You do need to turn in a copy on Blackboard and turn it in. And then when you do that, make sure you get a digital receipt or confirmation email. If you don't get one, you've probably not done it wrong. Your submission hasn't gone through. So keep trying. Contact technical help, the SDSU Blackboard student help if you need any assistance. So that is going to be the rest of the semester. So it's going to be coming at us fast. There's a lot of work to do in the next 7 weeks, but I think we're ready for it. Thanks so much.